I did coffee.
His neighbor
Go to the jurors room.
and it's a council.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
How did you do that?
I was playing with it, fiddling with it.
Let me take a 10-minute break. Yeah, 3 minute.
Yeah, right.
Just a minute. Oh, wow.
All right, today is February 18th, 2025. It's a Committee of the Whole meeting for Barberton City Council. But before we begin our Committee of the Whole meeting, we do have individual committee meetings this evening. And we're just going to go ahead and jump into those. With street, sidewalk, and lighting, with Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I would like to call the Street, Sidewalk, and Lighting Committee to order. It is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025, at 6:01 p.m. All members of my committee are present, including myself and all other members of council and guests noted on my sheet. This evening, we don't have any requests for legislation. No pending legislation. Does anyone have any miscellaneous discussion they'd like to talk about in the committee? In the botte? Gallery? None? May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Monty Harris, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. We are adjourned at 6:02.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. Next up, Environmental Health and Social Services with Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, President Greer. Environmental Health and Social Services meeting today, February 18th, 2025. In council chambers, the time is 18:03. All members of my committee are present. Myself as chair, Shorter Griffin as co-chair, Taylor Thompson and Justin Greer with all other members of council present, and guests as noted on my sheet. We have no requests for legislation, no appointments pending legislation. Is there any miscellaneous discussion from the gallery? Oh, Mr. Greer.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Has there been any feedback from the Health Department, from the county at all on any of the new stuff that's going around? Any COVID numbers, anything local?
I don't have that information with me, but we get, on the opiate side and overdoses, we do get a daily report, which I send out. We have a meeting next week. There will be some updates, but they've got a new director there, and I'm going to have the new director come in and address council. But yeah, will provide us with some updates. I just don't have that information on me right now.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I don't, this is data, I have their latest report. This was on 12/28 of 2024. Percent of outpatient visits for influenza was up 40.65%. Percent of emergency department visits for fever unspecified was up 24%. And then hospitalizations, confirmed influenza associated hospitalizations was up 81.48%. And that was on December 28th of last year. Is there any other? Then at this time, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
And we are adjourned at 18:05.
Thank you, Mrs. Hager. Next up is Planning, Annexation, and Codes. Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes. It's Tuesday, February 18th, 2025, at 6:05 p.m. in council chambers. Committee is present, which consists of Councilors Thompson, Harris, President Greer, and myself as chair, all others noted. No requests, no appointment, nothing pending. Director, we have a development code coming soon.
So we had last Friday comments from city staff concerning the updated draft. Those comments were then emailed back to Arthur, who was representative with OHM. There's a Zoom meeting scheduled for Monday, the 24th, with Jeff Redberg, the building commissioner, and OHM and myself to go over Jeff's portion that he would like addressed or has comments about. And then after that, we'll get a finalized draft that we'll send out to the steering committee, and we are moving forward with it.
Any ETA or anything?
I'm still sticking to my, by the end of May of this year.
Thank you. Wait. Anything from the body? Gallery? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 6:07.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. All right, next up is City Properties Park and Recreation. This is a special with Mr. Easterling.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, February 18th, 2025, at 6:07 PM in council chambers, we have a special city committee meeting for Properties, Parks, and Recreation. All members are present, other council members as noted. Today, topics of discussion is requested legislation. It was a letter from Michael Tiadecki, our city engineer, requesting legislation to enter into a contract with a contractor for the demolition of the city-owned building located at 107 Fifth Street, formerly the Masonic Temple, and emergency wording is requested. Does anyone have any questions? I sent out some emails and got some responses. I will just some back history on what the line items were on the bid package, dates and things of that nature. We need to, I guess, call this out for a vote, if I'm correct. So if we have any questions, we have a motion to do that.
I don't have any questions, but I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
A second.
So with that, do we call for the vote?
Mr., you just asked for,
Well, I'm sorry.
all those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All those not in favor? That motion passes, and with that, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. And at 6:10, we adjourn.
All right, thank you, Mr. Easterling. All right. Last but not least, and this one will be pretty long, Finance and Personnel with Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. It is Monday, February 18th, 2025 at 6:10 PM here in council chambers. All members of my committee are present, which includes myself as chair, Mr. Heidig, Mr. Griffin, and Mr. Greer. All other council members are also present, as well as guests as noted on my sheet. Tonight, we will be discussing the budget. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that first. And we are going to start with our law director, Mrs. Miller.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to thank the mayor for bringing the budget because I forgot my page today at work. I believe that there's no significant increases. Again, we still have the jail litigation going forward, so that is what much of the professional service budget is taken up with. By frame of reference, I have 3 full-time prosecutors, 2 administrative assistants, and then a very part-time law director that we've had since, Greg Macco and all of them were here, so a long time ago. It used to be Jim Merletti, and then it was Irv Sugarman for a long time, and now it's an attorney named David Randolph. He handles a lot of the administrative appeal work for me. As many of you know, or maybe don't because you're kind of new, Greene, New Franklin, and Norton all contribute to the running of my office by contract. We prosecute for all of those municipalities.
You said Green, New Franklin, and what?
Norton pays an administrative fee to us.
Thank you.
Does the county contribute since, like Coventry and
Copley?
Copley?
Yes. Yeah. They always have. The only problem is the amount has stayed the same for at least 30 years. They pay Akron as well to do the townships and the Akron Municipal Court District as well. In terms of numbers, of course, Coventry and Copley are at very low numbers. It's really Barberton and Greene tied kind of for first, and then Norton second, and then New Franklin, and then it just dwindles significantly after that. Yep.
I hope I'm on the right page. It says law, general
Yes.
fund.
Mhm.
Okay. Training and travel, you guys didn't have to do very much last year?
Yep, so we primarily use that for each attorney in the state of Ohio is required to take 24 hours of CLE every other year. So we use that for folks to do CLEs. So there's a lot of free CLE available out there, but it does not apply to our job. So for example, I could take countless CLEs for free on probate and estate planning, but I don't probate or estate plan, so it's not really helpful. So we try to get those CLEs that are relevant to us, and those just aren't offered a lot around here. They're typically defense-oriented, which is nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic, but we like to go places where they're prosecution-oriented. And the other problem is my gosh, between Michelle and I, we probably have 40 years or more of, no, it's way more than that. I'm very old. 60 years of experience between the two of us, so it's hard to find a CLE that we can go to where we're actually going to,
Benefit.
learn something we might not know already, especially Michelle, she's very gifted.
Okay. And since it's every other year, that's why it
Well,
was
it's
so
divided
low.
by alphabet, so those of us at the front of the alphabet, I'm not at the front of the alphabet. If you're at the back of the alphabet, we just reported, so the other folks are reporting now.
Okay.
I think Jen is under her maiden name, so she's at the front of the alphabet, and so is Michelle.
Okay. So this year you guys will get to do more?
Yeah.
And then, was the Swisscom up so much because of the new radios?
I don't actually know why that's in my budget, but there's been like some
It threw
glitchy,
me
weird
off.
things. I don't have anything to do with Swisscom, like in terms of budget.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's $40,000.
52,335.
sorry.
Actual was way
It's a
over.
negative.
Yeah,
Right.
Mayor, do you know why Swisscom is in my budget? It's a Swisscom uniforms other.
There are some line items that should not be there, and I know that's one of the glitches that Jeremy is looking at.
Yeah. Have nothing to do with the uniforms at Swisscom. I can be absolutely sure of that.
Yeah, I'd have to go in and talk to Jeremy, find out what that line item really should be, but yeah, there's nothing that, a lot.
I saw that too, and I was like,
Yeah. I think that same line item is in several other budgets that have nothing to do with Swisscom.
I love Swisscom. I'm exceptionally happy that we have Swisscom, but I do not pay for the uniforms.
Okay. So we'll wait for Jeremy to ask why that's on so many.
Yeah,
Because
like,
if it's
since we
messing
moved
with,
over, there's just some weird things happening, just usually one line item, and that's the only one that I can see quickly. Although the OEPA assessment, I don't know if everybody got that. Did everybody get a $150
Yeah.
assessment?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. I've never seen that before, so.
$150.
Ohio EPA, maybe?
Yeah, but not assessing me. What in the world do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Hi, Emily, I'm sorry.
One question. Under the memberships, what kind of membership are they, like your, like dues, like national, state dues?
Yes,
or-
so I belong to the local bar association, but the folks on staff also belong to the state bar association. It's just valuable for us to, in the state bar association, every day, so back in the olden days when things were printed and mailed, there was something called the Green Book, and we would get a Green Book every day, and that was tons of Supreme Court decisions and Court of Appeals decisions throughout the state of Ohio. And we would just round robin it through, because we didn't want to pay for 4 subscriptions. But now, if you belong, it comes electronically every day. It also has job listings and legislative updates and so forth.
It kind of fluctuates. It looks like historically it's fluctuated a lot. What's that all about?
Right, because sometimes usually people join when it's a year for that they report, and then people don't join because there's a discount for your CLEs. We're a thrifty lot up in the law department.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's not hard, I mean, my budget's comparable to other departments, like, it's not, not that significant, but, we're proud of the fiscal things we've done over the years.
I don't have any other questions. What about you guys?
She answered most of my questions.
Thank you, Chair. Completely irrelevant, and
Sure.
sorry, Mrs. Miller, I'm going to use your thing as an example. I just looked up that cheat sheet that was sent to us with the numbers. That line item comes as leaf vacuuming on the cheat sheet. So it's all,
I for
just to
sure don't have
confirm,
anything to do with leaf vacuuming.
like, leaf composting, I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't have anything to do with that either.
So just to ensure that it is a glitch in the system, and it is probably throwing numbers off.
So
I just
we'll-
wanted to let everybody know, I did look it up.
Will we have to fix that, Justin, before we approve the budget?
It should be.
Okay, that's what I would
I
think
do not
too.
want the budget to take care of or be responsible for leaf mulching. I really don't know what that is.
And in the same line, it says Swissquam uniforms and other, so.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't even know if we
There's
have
definitely-
trees here. Okay. All right.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be some glitches like the finance director said last week. We had staff meeting today, and, he already told us, as he said here in council, he wants feedback from everybody that's used the budget to see how we can make it better. But we noticed some of these glitches, and unfortunately, some of them were noticed after it was sent out. So I'm not sure if the glitch happened, because we review this budget quite often prior to going to council, and some of these glitches kind of happened after we looked at it, so. I'd like to call the chief of police up to go over his budget, which is just 4 pages past the law department. And I apologize, I printed my budget out before Jeremy resent it out with page numbers, so I don't have page numbers on it.
No, but that's fine.
She wasn't going to read
spread out
them
here.
for us because he fixed it after they were printed.
Judy?
Hi. Police Department, you know what we do, so I don't know how you want to go about it tonight.
You know what I do?
Just want to ask questions.
Raise your
I guess,
eyebrow.
excuse me, I'm a little sick, but I'm good. No mask here. First, so roughly for this year, total is 7.61 million, 614. Personnel on it, we get our stuff on people, is 86% of our costs. So the largest, biggest part goes to just people to do the job. So operations is 800,000, that's about 10.5%. Capital is 2.3, 175. Debt service, it's 0.00 something or another, so, in the grand scheme, so. I can ask questions if you went through or you have any. And I went through and I had that same problem that, you asked about the Swisscom uniforms with Law Director Miller. Yeah, the new system didn't necessarily transfer all the other, the line item names, so. But I went through from my old sheets to the new sheets, and I wrote them in here so I can tell you what they are, so something's, I saw one, it was like, I mean, I'd love to be on senior center trips, but I'm not, so. Not yet. Give me a few years.
Soon.
So,
It does say chief training and travel as
yeah,
well.
that's a line item for me to do training and travel. That's legit, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, under personnel, we're still in flux, we're in contract negotiations, safety director's been working on that, so. But feel fairly confident this budget will carry us through for, next year and be able to do everything we need to do. It includes 2 vehicles in there. I know vehicles are always a thing. We have a good fleet, 2 every year. We'll keep being a good fleet. So that's there under the capital section of it. So, yes.
Thank you. Down under education reimbursement.
Yes.
I know it doubled this year, or I noticed it doubled. Is
Yep.
there more education planned?
Educational reimbursement is a contractual obligation. We want to encourage people to be smart police officers and go back to college so they get reimbursed if they pass. More people are taking advantage of it. So to be a sergeant, so you guys know, to be a sergeant, you have to have 32 hours of credit, college credit. To be a lieutenant, you need 64 hours of college credit. To be a chief, you have to have a bachelor's degree. So, and we provide a mechanism to be able to achieve that as you move through the years. So that's why that is, because we've had more people
Good.
going to college. So.
Yeah,
That was my question.
sounds like a
Expecting
good
more
thing.
people to do that.
That's kind of why we do it. Yes, Ms. Thompson.
Okay, I have a question about the street repairing materials / K9 program / memorial tree.
Can you give me the
Yes,
number?
Me too.
That is
52,620.
52620.
Okay.
Budget for $9,000.
Yeah, so that should just be K9. We were paying, we got some K9s last year, and so we were just taking the money from other funds that were available, and so we made it a designated K9 line item with this year.
Just
Okay,
jump
and that's-
one second.
Sure.
So Detective Shreve in the back was able to cross-reference some of the things, and that Swisscom uniform before was the direct indictment program. So it may be the numbers right, but the words are not correct. Is that right?
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so the
Yeah.
So-
52335 account last year for law was indictment program. And this year it says Swisscom uniform other, but it's the same account number, expense number.
And then like the 150 EPA one,
The EPA.
Detective Shreve found that to be my court cost line item.
Yeah.
So the numbers are correct, just not the words. So we no longer participate in the direct indictment program, so that is zero now.
So, and I'm not gonna speak 100% for Jeremy, but like some of the account numbers, the last 5 are the same in several budgets. So in order to have that spreadsheet box would be a mile long because it's K9 for chief, it's, it's elevator service for me, it's street sweeping for the street garage or whatever, but it's the same account number. So I would assume that rather than putting again, I'm not speaking for him, but that just, it kind of makes sense looking from last year to this year.
And so also to that point, they go under the police department in the 101. Was the first numbers on here, and then the other ones will be different along the way too. So I had to do the same thing. I took last year's budget and lined it up with what I had this year. So
Yeah, 'cause
he brought the whole budget. Detective Shreve did. I just brought the police department budget. So
Yeah, because there's one that's 52342 is burials / towing.
yeah, that's just towing.
Yeah.
So
I
And
didn't think.
burials is in the budget because we do indigenous burials, so.
but not in tow cars. Sorry, that's bad.
Kind of mafia-ish around
Yes.
here.
So I have another question about the K-9. since
Sure.
we were on that. Because I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So does this also cover like their checkups, like at the vet
Vet
and
bills.
things like that,
Yeah.
like everything they need?
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we give them some treats too. We have a nice deal with Pet Supplies Plus out in Norton. They treat us really good, so,
That's where we get our food at.
yes.
Yeah, I love the
So,
one.
yeah, they're very nice, so.
And, the salt/bike, bike patrol program, I'm sure the salt part is just falling under.
Yes,
of
yeah,
what-
that's Bike
what
Patrol.
you're selling.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like that's all you spend a year on, that is $6,500?
Yeah, once we buy a bike, you just try to lube it up. RD always takes care of us real good down there, and, every now and then we'll buy some new bikes. I think we did, if not last year, year before.
Well, what I was assuming was you pay the police officer on the bike out of this.
No, so
Oh.
this is just, that's in the operating. So
Okay.
on every budget, you're going to have your personnel and your operating. The twain shall never meet,
Yeah.
So that's why operating, everything, all the wages is up there in the operating.
Yeah, I don't know what I was
Or up in
thinking.
personnel costs, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, go ahead, Mr. Hayek.
Thank you, Chief. The education reimbursement.
Yes.
If somebody takes advantage of that, do they have to sign a commitment to stay on our force for X amount of time, or could they legitimately get reimbursed and leave for another department immediately?
I'll defer to the safety director on that.
It is, yeah, it's part of a program. I don't know the specifics, but it's based on how long you have a commitment. If you leave within this time frame, you're responsible for 100, and it's broken down. The longer you stay, it'll be the less amount you have to pay back.
Yeah, I think it's stretched out to 4 years. So.
Thank you both.
Question, what are we
Yes.
leasing?
We bought 2 cars last year that were leased.
Okay.
The 2 new cars from last year were leased cars. So that's the lease payment on the 2 cars that were last year that just came in last month, or this month.
We call it a lease. It's not like you're leasing but we're paying them off over 4 years instead of just buying them outright. So we will keep them, we're not gonna trade them back in after the lease.
Yeah, it's a municipal lease, which is just kind of like a car loan, so. It's a finance thing, and that's why they do it that way. This year, though, we're buying them outright.
Okay,
So.
that's good. And then another just silly question, radio maintenance.
Radio maintenance, so so last year, that was a big deal. If you'll see capital's down, why's capital down so much? Last year, we used a lot of capital to buy new radios. We had to buy new radios. So, the radio maintenance fees, we belong to Summit County Radio System.
Okay.
And they charge X amount per radio per month as a user fee to be on that system.
Okay, I got you.
So we pay them, and so they can keep the, all the, airwaves clear and going out, and antennas and switches, and it's all one big, it's amazing what that little radio costs these days too, so.
And then we kind of had this conversation in the dungeon down there about
The dungeon.
down the road with vehicles.
Yes.
Why, or anything, why don't you guys have some form of capital outlay where there's money given you guys every year so that we're not squeezing when you do need something? To where, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask this of every department, because street's a big one, you're a big one. Anybody who has to buy
Yeah.
a pickup truck today is expensive.
Right. Well,
Why don't we have something in our budgets, even if it's just a savings,
mhm.
to where it kind of, it helps
Well, I would
in
say.
the long term?
Yeah, I think we do with the emergency reserve fund, that was stipulated by council for things like that. So when we do have a guy gets T-boned and his canine car gets killed, we can, because at the moment that we're trying to do this budget and share that piece of the pie, everybody wants a slice of that pie and try to make everybody happy, to fill all the potholes, to, get cots out, that's a question above
Okay.
my level in lots of ways, but yeah, it would be nice to have a savings fund, but, those are,
But I'll say for a rainy day, and I
Yeah.
guess that's why I asked.
I know, within our budget, it's a special revenue fund. It's way in the back somewhere. It's 234, but it's a law enforcement trust fund. So oftentimes when we'll get, we'll do a good case, and we'll get, $5,000 from that case. And it's stipulated by the courts to go into that fund for law enforcement purposes. So that's our savings account. And to your point, we used that to help purchase after the insurance settlement, and some other monies to buy the new canine vehicle that's coming in for ISO and Officer Watson. So that's like our little savings account. So, for when we need it.
What is the status of that?
It's supposed to be coming in. I would expect it more sooner than later. That's a really good question. No, it's through Tim Lally. You could ask Officer Watson when you have some time.
Sure.
No, I should be in here, I would think. Last I knew that the vehicle was obviously there and the stuff was was in, the canine insert and stuff, and they were outfitting it, so. As you shoot, you know what, now that you mention it, we'll probably be here tomorrow, so. So that's a good thing, Monty, So,
We'll see.
Good luck charm.
so, yeah.
I don't have a lot of faith in that.
You know what, things show up. We had good luck with, the last person we bought. We did with the cruisers, they said they'd been Q1 of this year, and they came in on time and been doing very good, so.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Motor maintenance service agreements.
Mhm.
Is that something besides the warranty you guys take a vehicle in?
Yeah, that's gas, oil, or that's oil. That's oil, tires, brakes.
So this is like a once every year, you just take them in for?
Motor maintenance? Which
52,
one?
615.
The last
52,
one.
615.
Front page.
Yeah, that's just to fix and repair cars. So, yep. That's just the daily wear and tearness of,
No, I mean, I
of
would
maintenance.
understand maintenance and then, like everything.
Yeah,
add a bunch of stuff.
I don't know, the annual service agreement, that's
Annual.
another one of those slash ones. Forget that part of it,
Right.
so.
And that's what makes a lot of these questionable is
Yeah,
what else
Yeah.
is included and.
yeah, that 52,613, that's our range account. So that's where we try to buy our guns and targets and, or ammo and stuff out of that. So,
Probably not donation expenditures.
so. Yes, Ms. Gerhart?
What's the telephone?
Telephone. Well, that's one of the whole city has a telephone system, and we are charged X amount per department for telephone. I don't know how that comes, or I never have. It just gets split up amongst us all.
Okay,
So
it was,
telephone has gone down over the years though, since it went to voice over internet protocol, our phones and stuff. It used to be far more when we had all those little, you've seen the wires in the old telephone thing. We still got it downstairs if you really want to see it. It's Mr. Stoll's out here, he can tell you, it's
yeah, because
so that's what telephone
in
is.
'21, it was crazy high and,
Yeah, well, we've morphed into,
gotcha.
So. We have some really good, hardworking IT people,
Awesome.
past, present.
One more.
Okay,
It's not really a question.
okay.
So I met with Parks last week, and they're talking about a camera system they're putting in the parks.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it's pretty usable for you guys, because you've got video and all that kind of stuff on it. Is that something that really probably should be part of your guys' in the future, if it's used as surveillance? The only reason I ask that is it makes a lot more sense to get it on the Wi-Fi and, become part of the whole police department versus Parks and Rec and anyone else who wants to go down with a laptop.
My understanding with that is Mr. Patterson sent out an email for us to have some training on that. Lieutenant Dawson and one of the sergeants will be going to it I don't know if we'll be able to have live feed from that or not at this point, or just access for us, like
Yeah.
after something happens. So.
Well, my understanding is right now it's just running on a loop to where it records.
Mhm,
You can go
right.
down there and download and look at it.
Right, yeah, or we'd be able to access
Yeah.
it otherwise.
But you have to physically go there, with
Right.
the laptop, all that stuff.
Mhm.
If Verizon's willing to give us the Wi-Fi hardware, I guess, for free.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking down the road, if that was something you
Sure.
think you guys could implement.
We're-
Because I was also
Yeah.
thinking even the Magic Mile, it's not exactly the,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to be down there when it starts getting dark. And that would
It's
help,
supposed to be.
just with residents feeling, safe.
Mhm.
I just was,
Yeah.
while I was thinking about it, I wanted to bring
Yeah.
it up to you.
Part of the, camera system's always good as the person on the other end too, watching it at times, so. Yeah, technology is expensive.
Right.
That really, that's, our biggest, we don't overspend, but our increases, I can point and show you directly, not tonight maybe, but, have been through technology, flock cameras, body cams, that stuff just is not cheap, so. Mr. Greer, do you have one?
Yeah, thanks, Chief. My question was really just, how's the force doing? Are you guys looking at any rollovers this year? Where are you guys standing as far as your numbers?
Oh, rollover? Oh, you mean
Yeah.
retirements?
Maybe that's a bad word, but yeah, so retirements.
No, I mean,
Funding, you guys-
never know. We're all day to day, right? But no, we're none planned or anticipated. So.
You guys fully staffed now?
We're in the process to hire 2 more, so that would be really good.
Mhm.
So that would be, what I feel is fully staffed. So, and we had, we do good on grants, so we had that one grant in '23 for $250. And then we got a grant last year, the same COPS grant again for $250. So we got $500,000. So we started drawing in '24 on the one to pay for the one officer. We just hired another one full-time here in January. And then we're drawing off him, so we hired 2 more, and we'll be drawing off of that as well. So we have another outstanding COPS grant that will come in. We'll find out later in the, we think we'll find out later in the year. We don't know. A lot of things for a while there. On the federal level, it was like everything was, X for a minute. But we're back flowing, and we can draw off of that now. So what else? We have a grant for body cams hanging out there, which would be really great to be able to get that, help save some costs. And we have a grant on, I think, for flock cameras too. So.
Are we looking to get more or upgrade? Or-
No, not get more cameras, not more flock. So. They're good. They're good because they're a network, So we put them by where the other places have them. So Akron has them. So we have them, and it works out really good in that respect. So.
All right, well, thanks, Chief.
All right. Just want to let you know, I recognize that we're the biggest budget, and we always try to do things efficiently and effectively and safely. So we take the responsibility very seriously. All of us at the police department too. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
And I will say with the salaries of all the departments, it's difficult to kind of ascertain what overtime is going to come from that department, especially in police and fire, but also with streets. We've been pretty lucky last few years with the street department based on the weather. And then I'll give you some updates on the last 3 days and some stats with that as well. But every department head is very conscientious of the budget and doing the best that they can with staying within those limits. And I'd say 99% of the time they do. So we'll have Todd talk about the street department, and then yes.
Just got one question for for the chief. What determines the number of police officers? Population, square miles? What determines how many we have on the force?
There is no set number per charter or anything. Some places do. They say, we should only have 24 police officers. Barberton's never had that. So, but what we have done, both before us and, I've done it, Lieutenant White's done it, and you can do manpower, staffing. It's actually one of those exercises. So I was a tuition reimbursement guy along the way. So that was one of the exercises we did, some of those trainings you go to and the education that you get. And for our size and what we do, 43 to 45 was optimum. So for the volume of calls that we do, that's police officers. Now, whether you count me or not, that's a whole other issue. But so I've had people tell me, yeah, you don't count. You're just sitting in office. But so that's where we should be. A 45 for us would be excellent.
Okay, so how many do you have now?
43.
You got 43 now,
Yeah.
so we're like 2 down, which is
So
hard.
yeah, we're getting there.
Right,
So,
we're getting
yeah.
there.
Yeah, it'll be good. So, and Councilman Harris can explain lots of stuff too. But that's how we do it. I mean, you always have. I mean, sorry, I won't talk too much. But there's always something. Somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, I don't want them to, but things happen. So you have to have a relief factor involved in that. With a lot of that. And so anyway, but that's where that comes from.
Kicking him.
All right. So let's start with, we gotta make sure I'm on my right page. So page 52.
Yeah, we have that number.
I thought he sent out numbered ones.
These were already printed, we're not wasting paper here. Does it
Well,
say service director at the top?
well, we can start with that one if you, that one's closer to the front, so let's just start there.
Now you're making us jump around.
Sorry. So this is page 28, which is
Just flip forward from law.
right by the mayor, in front of the law director.
Front of finance.
Found it.
So it should say service director at the top of the page. So I just want to start off, so a little cheat for me, okay, because I know we were talking about different funds, and so if it starts with a 5-1, it's personnel services. If it starts with a 5-2, it's operations and maintenance. If it starts with a 5-3, it's capital. So that's something that's always helped me kind of keep track of the different funds too. So I know we kind of were talking about, with his bikes, whether or not it was operating and maintenance or whether it was personnel services, it was a 5-2. So with that being said, salaries, Jeremy combined all of the salaries this year, so you'll see that 51,110 on every budget is all of the salaries. So it used to be when we get to the building department later on, you would have seen, building commissioner, you'd have seen building inspector, you'd have seen property maintenance inspector, you'd have seen clerk. None of that exists now, it's all 51,110. Those are all the salaries, they're all combined into the one line. So if you were to compare it, he combined last year's so that it looks the same as this year's, but when I look at it on my spreadsheet, it was 6 different line items. So if I start talking about different salaries, or so some of the stuff got combined. I guess is where I was going with that. So our personnel services and the service director budget didn't really change a whole lot. You'll see the education reimbursement dropped off. I graduated in August with my bachelor's degree, so I am no longer having any education reimbursement. So that's a 0 now. Our professional services stayed the same, so that budget is tenable, or it's Royce now downstairs, so our security, siren testing for our storm sirens. It includes some painting, street maintenance. It's a fund that if there are professional services that need done here, outside the building, anything under my purveyance. So as you can see, we only used 13,000 last year of the 25,000. I, again, try to be fiscally responsible like Vince and, spend as little as I need to out of that fund. You'll see there's Swisscom uniform and others. I'm not real sure what that line item is. I can look at last year's.
You didn't have anything last year.
Well,
He's
that's-
looking at, he's
Well,
looking at
20
the
Let me look on here. So that line item, 52,335, you're correct, didn't exist in my budget last year. So we'll have to get some clarity from Jeremy on that one. The burials and towing, I don't do any towing, but we do indigent burials. That is reimbursable. So that account, funeral home will get a hold of us if there's an indigent that needs help. They fill out paperwork and then we can be reimbursed up to $500 per burial. So that is a fund that may go down, but it should be reimbursed. And then telephone, advertising, memberships. Memberships include, I'm in a service director membership. I belong to the AWWA, OWEA, which is all utility-based associations. So that's what the memberships is for. As you can see, I only spent $321 last year. I don't foresee that really going up a whole lot this year. Office supplies, share an office with the mayor. You'll see in his line, he's also got office supplies. We kind of buy paper, pencils, pens, paper clips, that kind of thing out of those budgets. And then gasoline and oil. I'm not entirely sure how Jeremy charges that back. I do use the stormwater vehicle every now and again. We budget $250. I spent a whole whopping $5 last year. So we'll, and the same goes for postage, $23 in stamps. And that was BZBA notices, any type of letter that I have to mail. I get the pleasure of dealing with some trees. So every now and then, basketball hoops, that kind of thing, that's along the roadside, I have to send certified mail. So, any questions with that budget?
What do you advertise?
So advertising would be, so some of that's BZBA. So anytime that we have to send out, if somebody applies for a variance, we have to hit the adjoining properties. Also, any bid package. So whether we're doing a water line, like I was just talking to B&N today, we're advertising for Wisteria, 5th and Frank. It'll be going in the paper next week. So sometimes that comes out of my budget, sometimes it comes out of utilities, sometimes it's split between the two, depending on the work that's being done. Yes, Rebecca?
I noticed travel went over last year. Did you guys have extra trips or anything?
Training and travel.
I don't recall.
Take the mayor with you?
So I'm not real sure on that, Rebecca. I would have to refer to Jeremy and ask him how that got charged $1,300, almost $1,400 over, without getting into VIP and looking.
Okay. The other question, since it's only our second year with a budget, you would get paid out of multiple departments?
Yes.
So service director, you obviously make more than 31,000 a year.
Yes.
Whatever. Is there a clear way to see, like if we wanted to see where all is Todd paid from? Where all is the mayor paid from? Are the different people who are out of different funds? Is there a simple way to see that?
Do you know the answer to that?
Or that might be a Jeremy question?
Yeah, I would believe Jeremy could pull that information. I'm not sure if that's in a report form with this system.
Okay. And then is there anybody else paid out of service director besides the service director?
So I believe that Mike Teodecki's wage, our city engineer, is paid, there's a small portion that's paid out of service director. And if you bear with me for just a brief second, I might have. So I don't have, so, for example, I can give you an example. So Mr. Teodecki is paid 508, 515, 518, 101, 4240, which is building engineering, and 101, 4132, which is service director. So water, sewer, sanitation, and building and engineering service director. So there's five funds that make up his wage.
Right.
I believe that mine is a very similar split out of several of those same departments. Probably not, well, probably building and engineering also, seeing as how I
Because you're over
oversee.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So really, it's just the directors who come out of multiple funds?
Not necessarily. So our
Okay.
property maintenance inspectors, so that, I mean, they look at a lot of different things. So, for example, property maintenance inspector, so I'm gonna rattle off accounts: 518, 101, 4240, 250, 4250, 515, and 242. So vacant property, rental registration, water, sewer, and then building engineering.
Okay.
So again, but they also, they're not just looking at property maintenance, it's not just building department stuff. They're occasionally asked to go out and inspect a water service, or to follow up with a contractor, or to do those kinds of things. So a small portion of their funds come from, water and sewer.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions about service director? So I know Mayor said streets, just for ease of things, I'm gonna just work my way back through the book. So if we go back, is that okay, Mayor?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna go, if you're double-sided, flip 3 pages and go to information systems. So if you'll notice, information systems, again, personnel services didn't really change a whole lot from last year to this year. And then operations and maintenance, training and travel remain the same. We have Swisscom uniforms and other. We budgeted $4,000 last year, spent 75, budgeted $4,000 again this year. When we get clarification from Jeremy, I think that'll help shed some light on that fund. Because to be honest with you, looking at it, I'm not real sure why but it's gotta be a combined fund with several things in the budget. IT services, so that's paying Swisscom for our IT services. Repair and maintenance. So with that being at 60,000, we spent 79 last year, we budgeted 58. So that has a lot to do with computers, servers, the hardware that's behind a lot of our network. There was a lot of additions, computer-wise, and upgrades last year, I believe is why we ended up going over. And then if you look down in capital outlay, I've got 60,000. We were talking about phone systems. Our phone system in the building is going to be obsolete 2027. So we are exploring upgrading or updating our phone system. Now, 60,000 is a portion of it. It's not going to be all of it. So that will be something that will be split between all of the departments, because IT shouldn't bear the sole cost when utilities use the phones and answer the phones, when courts use the phones and answer the phones, law department uses the phones and answers the phones. So IT will have half or better, and then it'll be split between other funds too. With that being said, is there any questions about information systems? Yes.
Start your hand up first there.
When it comes to the miscellaneous operation and maintenance expenses, I'm curious as to why that doubled when you only used half last year of what was budgeted.
Second.
52617. I just didn't know if there was something planned.
Okay, so that's also, so that is our software renewal. So previously, that line item was, it was labeled software renewal. So with that, everything we have now is going web-based and cloud-based. And so the costs have increased on a lot of our subscriptions and our software that we have to continually renew on an annual basis. Thomas?
Thank you. The 60,000 you said for the phone upgrades, you said our phones will be obsolete here in 2027?
That's, yes.
I'd like an answer, and I'm sure Chief Morber would too. Are we even still, do you anticipate us being in this building in 2027? That's a little concerning to me.
So, I mean, it's still our building. So, I mean, will we be operating? Yes, there's going to be city function here. And there's going to have to be a phone system. So, again, it's not just going to be courts. Police is going to be here, law's going to be here. So we're still going to be responsible for the phones.
To that price, or is everybody else going to be, shouldn't that price reduce then with them taking over more out of their budgets?
I mean,
by the time that happens, whoever's here, there'll be an assessment of how many phones are actually needed, right? Because a number of people are going to be vacating this building hopefully before that, so that cost could go down. But, if they've got quotes for this, the quotes are only good for sometimes 30 days, sometimes 90 days, maybe a little longer. So they throw in the best estimate or the quotes that they have. But I could see phone lines being discontinued here once we get to that point. We saw the same thing with the radios that were just put in for police and service garage. We did an audit, number of them were discontinued, reduced the number long term. So, but for now.
And honestly, it's a network system. So, I mean, the phones that aren't used here, I mean, it's going to be one network. This building and the building down the street are all going to share a network. So, I mean, just because they're eliminated here doesn't mean they wouldn't be used down there. I mean, we're going to put in a compatible phone system in the building down the street, because it's not like we're going to have one manufacturer or one end user here and something different down there. So, I mean, we definitely will take that into account as we're moving forward.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Say we can just flip to the next page from building maintenance. So building maintenance, so personnel services, that the only employee in this account, and again, he's a split employee, is Lise Wyatt. So he's our handyman that works inside the building. He is the only one that wages come out of the building maintenance fund. You'll see, so professional services, we didn't budget anything the year prior, but again, this particular fund can share in elevator contract would be professional service, which again, I know that it's not functioning, but we still have to maintain a contract with somebody to maintain it. The first budget without something being under the 52,335 Swisscom As you'll notice that it's actually budgeted 0 this year. Contracts, so that is also elevator, heating and cooling. We have a contract for the boiler treatment downstairs and the rugs, Cintas. Window cleaning, we've been using the same window cleaner for years. He comes in once a month, does a really good job. Repair and maintenance. We didn't use a whole lot last year, but again, with an aging building, you don't want to under-prepare. Going down through there, not a whole lot changed. Any questions on that? Yes, Rebecca?
Did you get away from using dumpsters?
No, is that?
I think that, they put that 5261.
Which one's that?
52422.
Oh, I think that's part of 52,614.
No.
So they
Building
like
dumpster.
change?
Yeah, so I don't know why he moved that. That could also be the professional service, the $5,000 at the top, to be honest with you. He may have moved it into professional services instead of the 52,422. Let me look and see what it was. Contracts. So contracts, okay, so let me rephrase. So the 50,000 for the contracts is the cleaning contract. So looking at it last year, that line item was janitorial services.
Mm-hmm.
52,330. There was not a 52,330 in the building maintenance budget last year, so I would assume that that would take over the dumpsters, which is a professional service.
Well, because there's the 52422 that
Yeah.
says dumpster, and then down at 52614, there's trash cleanup.
So that residential trash cleanup though, so that's gonna be in the sanitation fund, the 508.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, again, that's a number that's shared through many budgets.
Gotcha. So the 52422 should have some money?
No, I would say the 52422 is a fund that he's working on eliminating, and he added the professional services, because every budget has a professional service line item.
Right.
Except for this one. For some reason in the past, this one did not have a 52,330 budget. So I'm gonna say that he's working on aligning all of the budgets so that the numbers are more similar.
Okay.
Which is the same reason why he put all of the wages in the 51,110 instead of having 51,112, 51,113 in several of the budgets.
Okay.
Yes, Monty?
What about, is there a difference with 430 and 431? Repair and maintenance, and then there's just maintenance?
So that is a good question, and I would say that that's a Jeremy question. I don't know why that they've been labeled that way.
Looks like one's for vehicles.
I think that's vehicles, yeah.
Repair maintenance, vehicles included 52,431. So 52,431 in the past was elevator maintenance.
That money good.
So maintenance in general is, I mean,
Okay.
It's in elevators.
sorry, that's.
So 430 was elevator?
So
31.
431 was
Elevator.
elevator maintenance, and 430 was repair and maintenance.
Okay.
There is one vehicle in building maintenance, so I mean that probably could come out of that fund also. Yes, Rebecca?
Did the property insurance go up dramatically?
So I don't know, that's all handled by our finance director. All of the personnel services and then the property and vehicle insurance, those are all items that he puts in based on the rates that he's given.
What do you show this page number to be?
This is page 35.
Thank you. I feel like we're gonna have to come back to it when we have Jeremy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we do one more? Do we want one more, or we want to stop there?
Doesn't matter.
I think we should stop.
What do you got next?
I'd say it would be building and engineering.
Is it gonna be a lot of I don't know?
So that's page 42, so if we were on 35,
It's pretty short.
yeah, so it's not a real long.
Building and engineering.
So is this an example of where you said he combined
All the
salaries?
salaries,
'Cause
yes.
This still is showing a long,
So if you look, yeah, so from 51,120 all the way up to 51,110, all of that was combined into 51,110. So in the past, that, that helped with, we were talking wage splits.
yeah.
So that helped when I was looking, at the different, so where it just says salaries, it used to be, so like 51,112 would have said property maintenance inspector. And so I know that I have 4 of them. I know that there's a certain portion of that budget. But now it's all combined into the one.
Okay.
You're fine, they're all cold, I'm trying to figure out how to
okay.
turn it on.
So other than that, the rest of the personnel services stayed very similar. So training and travel, so we ended up appropriating some money and moving some money from another operation and maintenance account into that last year because there was bringing on new property maintenance inspectors and new employees. We wanted to make sure that they were trained and they got the training that they were requesting so that to do the best at their job. And we did have to move some money in the professional services also. So the professional services is all of our outside inspectors, so electrical inspector, plumbing inspector, plans examiner, those types of things. Our plans examiner is now a municipal employee, so that'll no longer be a contracted services, so hopefully that helps reduce some of that cost. So you'll see we budgeted 105 again, hoping that I can keep it underneath that even more so by bringing Angela on as a employee. Yes, Monty?
Is that, is she included in that salary part there?
Yes,
The 110?
yes. And again, she is a part-time plans examiner, so she's actually only paid when she's got plans in front of her. And then most all of the other budgets pushed through at approximately the same amount. This year we don't have any, we're not looking at doing any capital expenditures. Last year we used that 15,000 to help purchase another vehicle for our inspectors. But they've got 7 vehicles now, I believe, in that department. 2 of them are retired Ford Fusions, but those are essentially backup vehicles or as-needed vehicles. I believe they were detectives' vehicles. Monty may have drove one of those back in the day.
I think one needs to go to the scrapyard personally.
Well, and that's something that we can evaluate those, as the year goes on. Are there any questions with the building and engineering budget? Yes, Rebecca?
I know you mentioned bringing on the new property inspectors and getting them trained, how many property inspectors do we have
So
now?
we have 4 now.
4. How many people are in the building department total?
9, including our CBO. The CBO, building inspector, 4 property maintenance, 3 clerks. Building inspector. Yeah.
Bless you.
Yes, sir.
On the demolitions, what is that? That for houses been condemned or?
So that would be for unfit and condemned homes, when we have to do an emergency demo. And again, so some of that, depending on what it is, if it happens to hold a fire bond, that would be something, so that would be a fund that we would expend and then be reimbursed from the fire bond, if that were the case.
How long does that usually take if a house is deemed, like if there was a bad fire or something?
So typically, it's case by case. Because again, if it gets hung up in court, when it's posted condemned, they can file a restraining order, they can fight it in court. Our law director's not here, but she could probably expand a little bit more on some of that.
If it's structurally unsound, get it taken down immediately. If it's a danger to somebody around it, they'll do an emergency demo, like the building's halfway burned.
Yeah.
It'll come down immediately. And again, that's determined by a structural engineer, so that could happen right after the fire or within a week or 2, depending on the investigation.
Yeah, I was just curious, because there's a house over, in our
1505 Reese.
Yeah, okay. Mr.
I believe that one's stuck in court.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah.
Which street, Reese?
On Reese?
Reese.
15.
Yes.
Reese and
there's two of them over
35th.
there that's stuck in court, correct.
Okay,
We
yeah, I was
got
just
one
curious.
that's almost 5 years on, what's his name, Horvath or something?
The one in this
The one
area.
the tree fell on.
Yeah, that's in court also.
Yeah, that's 5 years.
Then we have some where there's,
5 years.
multiple people, close to double digits that have a lien on it, right? And so that just complicates things as well. But as Mr. Polachek said, if there's a structural issue, it comes down now.
Okay,
And that's what the money from this budget comes from.
Okay.
It goes towards.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for that particular fund? All right, thank you all. We can stop,
Thank you.
we can stop there.
Yeah.
So that's all we had prepared for today. Mr. Flake will be in next week. and
We
then
didn't even do streets.
I'm waiting on a few more confirmations from department heads to get you the rest of the schedule for the next 5 weeks. You have for next week, and then for the rest of the time. I don't know if council if this fits, or do you want to meet prior to council to go over the budget, or stay after council, or just do it in finance committee? We've done it every which way in the past, so whatever, just, it's up to you guys. For Councilman Easterling, kind of your question earlier about like a savings fund.
Yes.
So we have an emergency reserve fund. You have enterprise funds, which are, structured by the ORC. You have special revenue funds, so they kind of, whatever money goes in there, if it's not spent at the end of the year, it stays in that fund. And then if you go to the first budget, council, on the first page, is all the general revenue funds. So kind of all of these, most of what you heard tonight, at the end of the year, technically everything goes back into a general pot and then redistributed through the budget process. And it stays there, right? And then any appropriation into any other fund goes through city council. So it's there, but if like police cruisers had a special revenue fund, then kind of like fire has a capital fund approved by the voters, then that money would stay there and only be used for that intended purpose.
I think there's 3 probably departments that need it. One would be street, police, fire.
For vehicles?
Just anything, everything they need, nothing's cheap,
Right.
that they need, now, it doesn't matter what it is. And if they have budgets that have, even if it was 1% or 0.5%, and anything they didn't use, instead of getting taken back from them for being great with their money, it would just kind of go into that fund for, because it was approved for that department the year prior.
Right.
So if we needed a boat for Lake Anna, you know, the money's there. We're not trying to sell bonds for everything. We would have some sort of
Right.
savings account. But I don't think if Todd does a great job that, you know, they should get his rewards, you know, for saving money. It's kind of just what I was thinking when I said savings account.
Yeah.
It would be per department.
Yeah. And that's why the budget process starts, we start in August. I don't know how other administrations have done it, but we're constantly talking about it. You know, where are you at with your budget? What are you looking at for next year in terms of equipment or capital expenditures? Mr. Gear brought up retirements. So we're always talking about, hey, what do you foresee next year or a couple of years? The problem is employees don't necessarily have to tell us.
Right.
You know, so we kind of ask them, hey, can you give us a few months' notice if possible so we can make those arrangements? And when we get to HR, you'll see that Ms. Eisman always has money to do civil service tests because you'd like to have an active test so you can hire off that list, and there's a whole process for that. That costs money too. So it's, and as you'll see, having grant funds is imperative because you can't run a city off of income taxes alone, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
It's because everything's going up. I mean, a cruiser outfitted a few years ago was 50 grand and now it's, you know, heck, for a few years Ford wasn't even making them, right? They just cut all orders. And then you know about construction material and all that, so it's, what's a fire engine, $1 million?
Yeah, ladder trucks are 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, to your point, you know. it's,
That's a prime example. What's the life expectancy of an engine?
Well, it's 20 years ballpark. I mean, 10 years is a first line, and then within 15 to 20 years, depending on mileage changes.
Yeah.
But it has to go through a rigorous test every year.
Right, so then you're just like a building, you got maintenance and
And ambulances are not.
services, and just, it's endless, I mean.
Then
But
you have
on a
those-
20-year deal, if you put away 20,000 a year, you know what I mean, that's what I'm kind of getting at. It kind of takes the sting out of things when you go back to the,
Yeah. So, all right, I will get the rest of the schedules out for, I've already put out next week's, but then the following weeks after I get some last minute confirmations. Yes?
Will we just be moving streets to next week?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And if you have any questions on what was presented tonight or anything in the future, please ask us, you know, because, you know, we receive no questions, relatively no questions. We come up here, like to have some answers for you or get you the answer throughout the week. And that way we can say, hey, this was asked by this person. Because if you have a question, someone else in the room has the same question, I'm sure. So the more communication we can have, the better. The more questions we can answer, the better as well.
I marked it.
Yes.
I'd
All
like to
these
make a
with orange,
special
I
request that
think.
Mr. Carr be here next week.
Mr. Carr.
Streets.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can break him in.
Because I think several of them have errors.
All right, I'll see if he's available. All right, thanks. Salary.
I think we should get the pages for those when they're corrected.
Yeah.
Because we won't want that next year.
Yeah.
All right.
What about Mr. Rick for the building?
So, with all that being said, can I have a motion to call for the legislation adopting the budget? This will obviously go through readings and we will hear more about the budget, but we can at least get this out onto the floor.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have a letter from Jeremy Flaker, our finance director, requesting the following note legislation to be adopted as emergency ordinances at the March 24th, 2025 regular legislative meeting. This is in regards to meter reading system replacement note. And this would provide for the issuance and sale of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds in the amount of $225,000. Are there any questions or anything for Mr. Flaker? There's a couple of these, so. Hearing none, can I have a motion to call for this, please?
So moved.
Thank you, and a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next request is in regards to reconstruction and improving the trickling filter system. And this would be an ordinance providing for the issuance of and sale of notes and anticipation of the issuance of bonds in the amount of $25,000. Are there any remarks? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have another request for note legislation to be adopted. This is in regards to road paving and reconstruction program. And this would be providing the issuance and sale of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds in the amount of $1,600,000. Are there any remarks? Hearing none, do I have a motion to call, please?
So moved.
Thank you, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, another request for, from Mr. Flaker, in regards to the Worcester Road West water line. This would be an ordinance for the issuance of $1,300,000 to pay for the cost of this program. This allows the water fund to pay back the advancement from the general fund that is needed to get the project started. Are there any remarks? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next request for Mr. Flaker, our finance director. This would be in regards to improving the city's stormwater management. This is an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds in the amount of $325,000. Are there any remarks? Hearing none, do I have a motion to call, please?
So moved.
Thank you, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Finally, our last request this evening from Mr. Flaker is in regards to a new loader for the stormwater and street departments. This would be the amount of $115,000. Are there any remarks? Hearing none, do I have a motion to call, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up, we still have the appointments on the table here for the Charter Review Commission. I know last week we had talked about, well, I had talked about how I would just like to see a little bit more of a variety to better represent the city as far as political party is stated, and it looks like only one person was removed, a Republican, and replaced with a nonpartisan. So, and everybody else is the same as requested last time, but I'd like to just open this up for discussion. If there's anything anybody would like to say.
I'll say something.
Oh, okay.
I sent an email out that I didn't get any response back to, but it kind of was pushing towards the Charter Review Commission on how, they should select. And it just stated that, it should be even both ways, with the majority being independent. So in this case, it'd be 2, 2, and 3. Just so it's a level playing field, kind of. And it also had some suggestions as far as prior service, inside this administration, working here prior or with current administration not being. That's my holdup with this is, I just think there's think there's a big circle there.
Mayor, you had your hand up before Mr. Easterling said something.
Yeah, so when this all started, I reached out to former members. We did apply, put this in the paper back last February. We put it back November and/or December of last year as well. I reached out to a total of, I believe, 4 nonpartisan residents. Did not hear back. I heard back from 1. I heard back from 3. 2 didn't want to be involved because of social media and other things of that nature. And kind of going through the process, they don't want to do that. We had subsequently 3 nonpartisans apply for the positions. 1 last Tuesday or Wednesday withdrew through an email. So the remaining 2 were put on to the new slate, which was submitted. I waited until Friday for more applications to come through. None came through, and so moved forward with it on Friday. So I believe the law director did respond to you saying, so anything, even changing the Charter Review Commission process would have to go
Through the church, yeah, right.
yeah, so, yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think another thing that was discussed was just the ability to bring some fresh names and faces to the table. So,
which I believe this accomplished as well.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I believe this accomplishes that as well.
Mr. Harris?
How many actually applied? Because I know we received a list and then there was some that never appeared anywhere.
I believe you guys got all the applications. My list shows people, my handwritten list shows people I've reached out to, and some never responded, some saying they didn't want to be involved. Real quick, 1, 2, 3, 4 additional Republicans that I reached out to, some did not respond. The 4 nonpartisans as well. And several other Democrats that didn't respond or what have you.
Got a question?
Yes, Mrs. Angela.
Thank you, Mr. Heidi, you're on council.
No, I mean, the chair called them.
I just, hey, I'm here. If anybody wants to ask me any questions or why I applied 13 months ago for this, I came. So, if you'd like, I can, or tell me why you don't want me on it. Hey, I've had my feelings hurt before. It's fine. But instead of hee-hawing around, just come out and say what you want to say. Because right now, the charter says, for the same party. It can be changed, but right now, you're looking at right now. It's for the same, political background. So if anybody wants to ask me anything, it's an old face. I have an old face. If you want young and new people, I even reached out to several of the people too, but they wanted to know what the pay was.
Everybody always wants
And
pay.
it's, when you tell them it's volunteer, I'm not gonna do that. So, I even reached out for Ward 2. I've been talking to a lot of people. And Monty can contest to that I do talk up to a lot of people. But it's a commitment. Even though this is a short commitment, it's a very, you didn't ask me, so I'm gonna tell you. How's that? Can I just go ahead and say? It's something, I worked on both sides. And this was my dream. I wanted to retire and be on council, and I worked on both sides. This is that middle, that bridge that needs to be done. It's, to me, it would be an honor and a privilege to be able to be on the charter review. I didn't care if I got paid on council. I liked talking to people. I liked understanding, what people want, what they don't want. So this is just, for me, I'm just talking about me. This is that bridge that I've always wanted to do. And I've asked to be on other commissions and other boards, but I filled out one application, and that was for the charter review. Now, I'm not, it's whatever you guys want to do, but I'm just telling you, it's not like, I'm not going to sit down and go, oh God, this is a lot of work, I don't want to do this, I'm going to resign. And we've had over many, many years dwindled down to 5 people or 4 people because it's too much work. You know, and if you're younger and you're married, you have kids, you got work, you got this, you got that. But, I mean, that's just my opinion. So you didn't ask for it, but thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for being here.
Yes. I don't miss the budgets.
Oh.
Don't miss the budgets.
Okay, Mrs. Fry, before, sorry, Mr. Heidick had a question at the same time as you, so we're just gonna go back and forth here. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Mayor, you said this, you believe this accomplishes having new, fresh faces and whatnot. New, fresh faces? One of these names has been on 3 damn times. You want a 4th? 20 years worth? And the person I'm referring, if you'll recall, accused myself and this council of violating the charter in a newspaper to the point where he had to offer a retraction saying we were wrong, or he was wrong, that the charter was not violated. I'm sure you remember this. You call that fresh? I understand you always say institutional knowledge and you need somebody to know how to work the cogs and keep it moving. Former councilors Angeloff and Fry, they've seen it. They've been there. I trust them to keep the meeting moving in the proper way. But to give somebody a 4th term who publicly shamed us about the charter to the point where a retraction had to be put? No. Thank you.
If I could respond to that, institutional knowledge is important, especially when you're looking at changes to the charter, possible changes to the charter. I reached out to other former members of the Charter Review Commission, and they either did not respond or did not want to be a part of it this time around, for whatever reason. And I'm not going to speak for Mr. Harden, but, I guess, that shows a lot on his side as well. I'll disagree with you a little bit because some people won't put a retraction in. Some people will talk a lot, they'll say things, and they will never admit when they're wrong. So, but I'm not going to speak for him. You can speak with him, or he can come here, or what have you. But yes, there's some fresh faces there. One individual I've never met. Another individual I met one time, came in and met with me. I said, have you thought about this? And so he looked at it, and then he passed the application on to Holly, who is on here as well. So she's filled it out and sent it in. The other ones, this is a small city. There's, we all know each other at some location, right? 6 degrees of separation at some point, right? We're related, yes. So it's not as easy as it may seem to get people to step up. Because I've had the same questions. How much does it pay? What's the time commitment? We're dealing with a lot of people that sit on boards and commissions that, half hour into the meeting, they're saying, hey, I got to leave. Well, you knew when the meeting was. You've been on it. So, is anyone going to be 100% happy with all the people that are on the list? Maybe, maybe not. When's the last time the city council approved a charter amendment recommendation from the Charter Review Commission to put on the ballot? And then supported it after that? Not too many. So how many people on city council actually asked people to apply? I know there's a few. How many of those people actually did apply? I don't know. Yeah, there's a few of them with you said that you would talk to them, Mr. Harris. And that's good. People want more people to apply. Well, it takes all of us. And the people I've reached out to on both sides of the aisle and in the middle, most of them didn't want to get caught up in, some of the circus that they call it, that happens. Their words.
Ms. Beck.
I know we talked a lot about having new faces and wanting new people to serve on things and tired of the same old faces. I feel like something as serious as our charter, we want to see some old faces. People who have been around the block a couple of times, who have kind of seen where the charter can go wrong. It's taken us over a year to look at our very own rules. And where we see, where at least I see a hole in our very own rules is where we had to interview for Chuck, 2 different times. And we came out with 2 very different outcomes when we were sitting in these seats deciding and hashing it out. We could have never seen that coming. So, a couple of these people, they've sat up here. They could have seen where this has maybe we do need to change our charter a little bit. The thing with Harnden, putting that in the paper, everybody makes mistakes. It takes a very big person to admit when they're wrong and apologize. I don't know if he apologized, but he at least said he was wrong. Lots of times I understand what you're saying about same old, but we are a small town. How many people want to do these things, right? But this, being our charter, it's very important. And you'd want some people that have been around the block a few times. So that's it. But also, one more thing. I really hope that every one of us wants to serve on something else at some point, and we are not punished for sitting in these chairs, calling us the same old faces. Well, you served here, you served there. We all love where we live. I'm sure all of these people love this place and want to do the best they can for it. For us to punish people we see their faces time and time again, we should be so lucky. We should be so lucky to be one of those faces you see time and time again. So it's a little frustrating to hear that for this. We should be so lucky to have people that love us so much.
Yeah, Mr. Griffin.
The Board of Elections said it's irrelevant, okay? They don't really care about parties or nothing like that. I've worked with Mr. Harden on different things, and I can't find a person that's more passionate about this city than him. He is, no matter what's his political views. And there's nobody knocking on the door to be chosen to get on these committees and stuff. I've talked to people, they don't even want to hear it. They don't want nothing to do with so-called what's going on. And I think that you need experience. You need somebody that's been around the block a few times. I mean, why should you want to get a new face all the time, and it takes the learning process out of it. If you have somebody that's qualified, that's doing it, and you have no problems with what he or she that's doing it, I see no reason why that we can't put them back in there again. That's my take.
Yes, Mrs. Fry.
I wanted to also say I'm here if you have any questions, but I don't know what everybody is so upset about as far as the charter being familiar faces or whatever. And Mr. Harden isn't even from the city of Barberton as far as being born and bred here. And he has probably done more volunteer work than any of us, anybody in this room. But back to the charter. It doesn't matter who is sitting on the charter committee, because we are going to talk about the changes that we think might be good for the city. However, the committee has to agree to whatever changes we are going to submit. And you are forgetting that even after we submit the changes that we think might be good for the charter, you all are going to vote for them. So what's the difference who's on the committee? In the end, you have the final say. So you're going to make a big deal about who's on it, and I was on council for 12 years, and out of the people that are on that review, the only person that would be somebody that has been on it before would be Mr. Harnden. Nobody else has been on the Charter Review Commission. So I don't know where you're getting your information or why you think it would be bad to have certain people sitting on the committee. It's a committee made up of a lot of people. You're gonna have to argue with the other people on the committee to get your point across as far as what you and why you think something should be changed. And it should be in the interest of the city and the people that you serve, your constituents. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Oh, one more question. I thought we were calling these all out individually anyway. We're not doing it as a group. Are we doing it as a
It
group
is
now?
a group. Yeah. After talk, which she left early, but according to Mrs. Miller, it is a group.
Okay.
So it is all or nothing. Yep.
Just one quick point. We can sit here and we can go round and round and round about this. But like the mayor has said, trying to find people who will put their name in the ring for this position. You know, I volunteered at my children's elementary school between 3 kids for 15 years. And getting parents to volunteer at their children's school for something which has no political affiliation, you're not gonna be blasted on Facebook for a decision or anything, and it's like pulling teeth. You know, and so if it's that hard in a simple situation, and, you know, we've reached out to people, Mrs. Angeloff said she's reached out to people, the mayor's reached out to people. You know, we can keep going round and round about this, but how long do we wait? How long do we try to find new people? I mean, I agree, we need some experience on this. People who have background with the charter and council, and so they're effective in helping the others understand it better. You know, and I think the more we go on with this and just keep dilly-dallying around with it, so to speak, we're just wasting time.
Let's do it.
Taking a moment here. I do appreciate the two of you coming out tonight.
And let me
truly.
say one more thing. Even if we're not on the committee, we can go to the meetings and we can have input. So if you don't want us on the committee, that's fine. We can just
Show
go
up anyway.
on our own.
Can I make a comment real quick? My biggest problem is the fact that I know for a fact that other people put in their application. It was basically, in my eyes, it was hidden from everybody else. No transparency in my book, you know. Whether they're chosen or not, still, you know, I'm a little bit upset with the fact that they were hidden when they took the time to do their application and turn it in. And then we never even knew that they did. Well, I did personally, because I talked to them. But when we were asked for a list of people, their names were not on it. So, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
And I do want to go back and just mention, there was only one change since the last meeting, and that was removing Julie Miller and adding Holly Johnson in her place. Julie Miller being a Republican, Holly Johnson independent, leaving the only Republican out of this list would be Tom Harden.
I thought Dallas Moore was.
I have listed as nonpartisan on mine. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
Who's that? I didn't hear.
Dallas Moore.
Dallas Moore? I thought that was an R.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, the charter says 4 of the same political background.
Right,
It
so of
doesn't
course-
say- It says 4 of the same.
Yeah, of course, we're gonna have 4 Democrats and then Tom Harnden, who's pulled 2 our ballots in the past 40 elections.
And it says no more than 4,
Yeah, no more than 4.
not that you have to have 4.
Mrs. Everhart, yeah.
So I have the charter up, and I think it's very important that there should be no more than 4 of whom are from the same political party, and no member shall hold an elected office, an appointment, or an employment in the government of this municipality. And I don't know if any of those individuals have been cross-referenced, if they are appointed to another board or commission in this community.
I don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
Another board or commission, what about, is the BCIC considered that?
I believe that would go up to the law director, and most likely, I would assume it would be anyone appointed to a board or commission through the charter. So the mayor has the ability to create other boards and commissions, which the BCIC is, but it's not in the charter. So the law director would have to add clarification to that.
Don't get mad here. I feel like this
We don't
is
need to make
important. I
decisions.
realize that this all comes back to council, but when trying to think of a group of people to suggest changes to our charter is a big deal, and I don't think this is it. So, I will,
Why don't you think this is it? What are you holding back here? There's something on the tip of your tongue that you want to say.
To be honest, when it comes to Mr. Harnden, I know that he has a great heart. I work with his wife. He is out there in the community. He is not a Republican. And being a Republican, I want a strong Republican on our Charter Review Commission.
How many times have all of us sat here and said that partisanship doesn't matter, but now it does?
I understand that, but
Yet when we wanted to abolish the primary, it did. How'd that work out?
I know it's important to some people, but
It
we
is
have
important.
all sat up in here and
It
said
is-
it's not. So
It's
now
important
that
to
one
some
person is
people.
pretending like it is and isn't on 2 different times, that's what makes me upset.
But we didn't
So
let- we
that's
didn't-
what is not funny,
We didn't
number
like letting the
one.
people choose how they wanted to run their own government with primaries and parties.
It's not up for us to say how they should choose.
No, it was up to us to
However, when
let them
somebody
put it on
sits
the
here
ballot to
and
let them
says one thing
decide.
one time and one thing another time, that's what I'm going to call out.
Hey, I tried to end partisanship. I got shot down. Told, everybody said they wanted it.
I feel like we've also acknowledged that we've all worked well together, being on different
We
sides.
have.
Oh,
And we don't
definitely.
have any mixture here.
We have.
I just think if you want to represent the community, right? And I think you need to do that by having those types of people here. Which, like I said, it's nothing against Tom personally. I just think him being the only R on the list is a problem for me.
You know, I know I sent that email out, but here we are judging how red someone's blood is. It's,
So we have a person on this list right now who, prior to me being sworn in, I was told by them, I'm sure you'll do fine even though you're a Republican. That's not the heart of the city. We have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have independents. So to know that that person's on this list, they're not going to be supporting all the residents of Barberton. You wouldn't make a comment like that if you would. I was also told by another person on this list, first time I ever met them, good thing for you to know is you shouldn't involve yourself in the day-to-day of the city. Why would you start meeting me with an intimidating quote? Like, I'm just saying, this isn't the best mixture of our city, and we have other applicants out there.
Mayor, did you have something?
Yeah, there's at least 4 council members who have voted for another party at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
Well, but you talk about partisanship, so I was asked last week to put more nonpartisan on. There was only 2 others.
And you did.
One withdrew,
Right.
the other one went on.
Okay.
So this is the slate that's there.
Mhm.
And the issues that are being, that would be discussed by the Charter Review Commission come from, people can submit suggestions and ideas.
Mhm.
They can come up with their own. Council can submit suggestions. They vote and decide and make a recommendation to council. The issues they're going to be talking about, I have to assume, are not partisan issues. I know what the charter says, right?
Right.
It was established at some point, that section of it. These people meet the qualifications of the charter, whether you like them or you don't. Whether they said something to you or they didn't. They meet the qualifications of the charter. And that's what city council's approval confirmation is. Do they meet the qualifications of the charter?
Okay. I feel like we are kind of going in circles here, and I appreciate that this is, you know, a discussion that we've had, but I truly think that we need to, even if we have to have a special meeting next week, when it comes to the appointments, we'll have to do that.
It wouldn't be a special.
It would just-
finance meeting
Or-
every week.
Just be called out.
Yeah,
It'd
it
have to
would,
be suspended, not called for, committee of the whole, not on the agenda.
thank you.
So if we're going to go that route, Mayor, have you received any feedback from council members between last week and this week about the members on the board?
I don't believe so.
Why are we sitting here and none of us reached out to him?
We didn't see who he picked till today, though.
Yeah.
We
Right.
didn't know that he didn't, there weren't many
Right.
changes.
So
That's why I submitted it Friday, waiting for more.
this round, if we're going to do this, we can call a special. Make sure you reach out. This needs to be hashed out before that next meeting, or we will have a special after the 24th if we can't figure it out. We have until the 28th.
Since finance meets both weeks, if I can just put it on her agenda.
Yeah, we'll just have to.
If they can't figure it out by next week, we'll have to have a special before the end of the month.
Yeah.
Right. So in order to figure it out by next week, there needs to be conversations had between now and next week, not here in council. We need hashed out.
Understood.
Okay,
And how many hours advance for a special meeting?
24.
24. So and that's the 24th, so the 26th is.
So it'd be the next available would be the 26th.
27th, or 28th, because the
Be-
25th
it's-
would be out.
It falls on everybody if we don't get it done, and it's a charter violation. It's not just one side, so.
Thank you.
He closed that door and it was like.
Yes.
Not part of the.
I feel nauseous.
Yeah.
Councilman Harrison, what applications were submitted but not provided to everybody?
I know Mr. Pursley's and Mr. Haywood's. Of course, Mr. Haywood withdrew. And those are the 2 that I do know about for sure. And I know Mr. Macco had put his in, but I don't know that I'd have to go back and look and see whether he was listed on that list of people that actually put in.
Yeah, and I saw all 3 of them. So you guys should have gotten them. I didn't send them to you, you should have gotten them. So
I never
there's no-
saw-
There's no
I-
lack of transparency that's.
I never saw Mr. Pursley's, and I never saw Mr. Haywood's. Of course, Mr. Haywood contacted me and said he was going to withdraw.
Right.
And, I mean, Mr. Macco's, I don't know. I never saw his name on the list.
Okay.
So,
Did I send you a copy of the application, all the applications?
I did get some, yes, because I think,
I got an email.
Ms.
and I
Price
just-
provided those.
No, for me. Did I send that to you?
No, I've had no communication with you regarding this. There's been no,
Okay,
you
so-
haven't provided any list of all the applicants. And I think
Not to you, I haven't. I will check with my assistant and I will check with Ms. Price.
Okay.
Because I saw those applications as well.
Okay,
Why
because
don't-
I know that they were submitted based on the evidence that I saw with the return email and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay.
Fantastic.
No, we just need to make sure that be proactive. So we can have the discussions next week in the finance committee about the same that we're having today.
Sure.
But the concerns need to be hashed out prior, because at that point, on the next meeting, I'll just call a special every day of the month until the end of the month, if we have to. I mean, it's, I don't want to, and I don't think anybody else wants to, but the applicants we have are the applicants we have, right? So, we gotta figure it out.
No, you know what, here's the thing, like, I understand how that may sound, because it should, and I stood up here last week saying I wanted to see more nonpartisan people, because Barberton is made up of a majority nonpartisan, but if you're only gonna have one Republican on this commission, let it be a Republican, not somebody who's only voted Republican twice in the last 40 elections. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel. I mean, I'm allowed to feel that way. So it is what it is. I'm sorry if that upset you guys, but we'll figure it out.
If you have a comment online, it's that this will discourage citizen participation. If those who wish to do so give them the right to respond, need involvement at all levels. But that was in response to you.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot this is a volunteer position. I myself volunteered on planning commission before I came here. So I get that, but I agree. I wish we could see more of everybody who had applied for this. And actually, I don't believe I, as chair of this committee, received a list either, just emails that were forwarded of the applicants, like here and there, as you did. So that's where I'm at with that. Because it is almost 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, Mr. Griffin.
What if the list never changes? What will we do then?
I hope it doesn't.
If this list goes on from now, every day, every week, what are we gonna do? Who makes the decision? Who says something? Or we just don't have a charter review? That's what we're gonna do. Just sit there and look stupid.
Well, obviously it needs to be figured out, but
How
I
you gonna
think,
figure it out? You don't have the applicants. You don't have the applicants. What are you gonna do?
But we do have extra.
we do know who's applied, but that's up to the mayor to request the appointment. So if we give him feedback, and I feel like with the discussions both this evening and last week, he knows where we stand. Mr. Heidick's obviously against Mr. Harden being on the board, or on the commission, so I think that should be taken into consideration, especially if this is a all or nothing type situation. So, yeah. Moving on. Like I said, because it is now 7:59, I'm not going to entertain miscellaneous discussion unless Mr. Flaker is back there somewhere with anything to say.
No, he's not here tonight.
Okay, I didn't think so. Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll second.
Adjourn at 7:59.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That concludes our individual committee meetings. Let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break. We'll come back and continue.
Is it like done and filled out and everybody's voted on it? Because if so, don't send it to me because it's not gonna come out of committee so we know what's going on with it. You know that. Sure.
Okay, I had to make a regional decision. But you don't want to, no, that's like.
Yeah, I mean like the fire did.
What, we went over tonight?
We knew the fire guys approved it, so let's
Well, their representative isn't so easily available.
Yeah, these are.
So I'll see what he's gonna do.
What representative? Oh, well, just tell me, hey, when are they, I mean, are they voting on it soon?
Next week, yeah. Oh, there you go.
I don't hope anything at all. Things seem to be hidden from everybody.
It seems you can't have this, you can't tell, because my door's always
I
open.
mean, yeah, but you have to understand also that past history proves future, but that doesn't not.
Well,
I'm not gonna
I'm
argue.
saying the same thing with you, I'm just saying, reach out. All I'm saying is reach out.
Oh, yes. Well, I just think everybody should represent, yeah.
Like I said, I ain't gonna argue with you.
Just show transparency and reach out.
Show some transparency, more so than what you have, because you haven't.
Well, I guess that's a two-way street.
Oh, okay.
No, and
I don't
he's,
use
I
these
don't use
things
paper
anymore.
at work.
Okay.
Just give it back to Lori.
I will. I know you use them at work.
Thank you.
Watch
No, I don't use
I
paper.
don't like those things. I can't put cables when there's stuff stuck to them. Because then I go like this, and I pull the tab.
I
And then
know,
get
right?
mad, And then I get upset, and my hair falls out.
I like
Today is February 18th, 2025. This is Committee of the Whole meeting for Barberton City Council. I call this meeting to order at 8:14 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Last I checked, there were no citizens addressing council, so we'll hop into our committee reports this evening, and we'll start with street, sidewalk, and lighting with Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Streets, sidewalks, and lighting has nothing to report. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. Environmental Health and Social Services, Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, President Greer. Environmental Health and Social Services met this evening in council. We had one miscellaneous discussion about numbers of illnesses and that, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Hager. Planning, Annexation, and Codes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes has nothing to report. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. City Properties, Parks, and Recreation with Mr. Easterling.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met February 10th at 6:03 p.m. here in City Council Chambers. We had a topic of discussion. It's the letter from Michael Tiadecki, City Engineer, requesting legislation to enter a contract with a contractor for the demolition of city-owned building located at 107 5th Street, formerly the Masonic Temple, and emergency wording was requested. Does anyone have any remarks? Anyone?
Or you just calling for it?
Yeah, we're going to call for the vote on this. Do I have a motion?
You're just calling it to the floor.
Oh,
You're
just call it to the floor.
Yeah, I passed it.
I passed it. I'd like to call it to the floor then, Mr. President.
You're good. You've already done it.
Yeah, you're just reviewing what you
Yeah.
did, so that's what you are applying for. It's on the list.
We're there then.
You voted and it passed.
Yeah.
Do you have any other legislation?
We have no other pending legislations or appointments at this time.
All right.
And with that, I'll pass.
All right, thank you, Mr. Easterling. Public Welfare and Safety, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Welfare and Safety met on February 10th, and we have nothing to report. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Rules, Marketing, Development, Ms. Gerhart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules, Marketing, and Development Committee has nothing to report this evening, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhart. City Utilities, with Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Utilities has nothing to report. With that, I pass, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Finance and Personnel, Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance and Personnel met this evening at 6:10 here in council chambers. All members of the committee were present, as well as all other council members and guests as noted. We started our discussion on the budget. We heard from the law department, police department, and our service director. And we are calling for legislation to adopt the 2025 operating and capital budgets. Obviously, that will be going 3 readings as this discussion continues over the coming weeks. I had several requests from our finance director, Jeremy Flaker. These are all note legislation requests to be adopted as emergency ordinances at the March 24th, 2025 regular legislative meeting. The first one is in regards to a meter reading system replacement note in anticipation of the issuance of bonds in the amount of $225,000. The second for reconstruction and improving the trickling filter system in anticipation of the issuance of bonds in the amount of $25,000. The next regarding road paving and reconstruction program in the amount of $1,600,000. Another regarding the Worcester Road West water line in the amount of $1,300,000. This is to allow the water fund to pay back the advancement from the general fund that was needed to get the whole project started. The next request is regarding improving the city's stormwater management, and this would be for the sale of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds in the amount of $325,000. And the final request was in regards to a new loader for the stormwater and street departments in the amount of $115,000. We had a pretty lengthy discussion regarding appointments for the Charter Review Commission, and we adjourned at 7:59. With that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That concludes our committee reports. The only thing I have to report today is that there was no meeting this week for the City Hall building. So there's no minutes for that, but we'll have, or notes for that, but we'll have a meeting next week, and I'll make sure everybody's informed. Is there anything from the body? Anything from department heads? All right, Mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. When it comes to the budget, council, please reach out throughout the week if you have any questions, because I guarantee if you have a question on something, one of your colleagues does as well. Next week, we are planning for the utilities department. That'll be water treatment, wastewater treatment, planning department, fire, streets, and then time, if there's time allowable, we'll do others as well. I want to give a big shout out to our service department, that's streets and utilities. Crews have been doing a great job with this winter. We know the constant change in temperatures and weather patterns have created challenging situations with our water lines and our roads. This past 3-day event resulted in 572 tons of salt being used, 1,631 miles logged, and 181.5 hours worked. Knowing that drivers can only drive for so long before we have to send them home, the work is one thing. Scheduling people and making sure that they have a clear mind and are ready for work is another challenge, and they've done a great job. So I want to thank our crews for their hard work, dedication, and commitment to the city and improving the community. Also want to thank the Barberton Police Department for their diligent work today on a case. Had an AMATS funding meeting last week. We do have a project and everything is on track for that. That won't happen until 2028. This is West Tuscarawas Avenue and West Lake Avenue downtown here. So just over $1 million total with those projects. Again, that'll be 2028. Money's already been awarded. There will be other legislation coming in front of City Council and things of that nature. Change for Change this Friday at the Pregame Tavern, benefiting Barberton Youth Wrestling. As I mentioned earlier, we continue to work with Summit County Health Department and track overdoses, not just here in Barberton, but throughout the county. And so they have it broken down. I send this out to the Health Committee, and I believe most of City Council is on that each day. We're continuing to keep tabs on state and federal government and what's going on. At the state level, there's several bills that were recently introduced that can play a part here in Barberton or affect us, impact us. One is addressing rising property taxes. Some possible new tools for JED, Joint Economic Development Districts, expanding that. The possibility of restoring the Clean Ohio Fund, which was a great program. And water infrastructure districts, but that's for counties, not so much for cities, but still we may be able to make use of that. Again, these were introduced. They can sit there all year. They can be moved through the system fairly quickly. So these have just been introduced. So we'll keep tabs on those and anything else that kind of comes up. And this is one of the functions of Insight, one of our consultants, they do is really keep tabs on the state and federal government and different programs that might help us. Because all this is, whether it's water systems or development or whatever, it all plays a part in economic development. Elevator update. I'm surprised no one asked about that. The piece was installed. They are trying to make sure that the programming is working so that the drive that was installed is actually speaking to the car and it's stopping where it's supposed to stop for each floor and all that. So they're going to it's not functional yet. They're still coming in to make sure that all the programming is done. So, this Thursday, grand opening of W Construction on Norton Avenue. And then next Friday is the spaghetti dinner at Prince of Peace, put on by our fire department, benefiting the Esther Ryan Shoe Fund, and that's with Kiwanis. So, any questions for me?
Well, not a question, a statement. I volunteer myself and Mr. Polisek to test the elevator when it's ready. I'm with you.
I was gonna say, imagine being the person that has to test it after they fix it.
Justin.
Nice knowing.
Not me.
Put a pile of rocks in it that's like sort of a.
I'm the I told you so guy.
I hear it's got its ups and downs.
It worked for it once too.
Come on. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
I'll be here all night.
Take us to another level.
Oh, man.
Oh, Mayor, I actually do have a question. So sorry. Are we opening up the Acme Adult Center for warming at all this week? Because I know the
Yeah, during
temperatures
normal
are-
business hours, it's
Okay.
open. You know, we're not equipped with personnel or services to have an overnight accommodation.
Okay.
There has been, over the course of the last month and a half, at least, I've worked with agencies in Akron, with Backham, Salvation Army, Common Threads, the YMCA, and gotten information out to people. If you make it up to this facility in Akron, and most of the people that I've dealt with have vehicles, if you make it up there, these are the times, you get dinner, you get lunch, there's security there, so you can spend the night and not have to worry about your belongings. Not one person has made use of that I'm aware of, unfortunately. I know that the fire department and the police department also have kind of that same thing. If they come in contact with anyone through a call, that they know who to contact and how to have that person get up there and what's available. It's imperative to get the information out. We can't force people to the facilities. And that's what they do, right? They specialize in overnight accommodations, dinner, breakfast, lunch. They give bus passes. They've got everything kind of taken care of. We don't have anything in Barberton that's set up for that,
Sure.
right? We don't have those resources.
Is there any way you can just like forward that information along to us if anybody asks us for, you know?
Yep.
For help? Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. With nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. 8:27 PM.
I gotta get my
How long have we been around?